to strap in. Welcome home.
Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land, and welcome to DC Fans United. So the Aquaman movie is about 5 weeks out until its release date. It's going to come out on December 21st. So with that in mind, we've been getting more accurate projections on the box office numbers. So the closer you get to the release date of a movie, the more accurate the projections can be. So right now they are looking at something around $45 million for an opening for Aquaman. So that's not exactly the best opening. It's actually going to be the lowest grossing debut for a DC EU film so far. Justice League, for instance, opened with $94 million on its opening weekend, and it came out in November. So $45 million's not really that great for this type of movie. We'll see. I'm hoping it does better. I actually am really hyped for this movie. I think it looks really good. I'm honestly, every time there's a trailer or a TV spot or something for this, I'm just shocked at how good it looks. It's really polished, and, in some ways I wish Justice League was as polished. It definitely had some flaws as far as its CGI and whatnot, which is even more surprising because it had a $300 million budget, Justice League did, and that's not counting, promotions and whatnot. That's just to make the movie. So Aquaman has only a $160 million budget, which sounds like a lot, but for these kind of movies, it's not as much as you would think. In fact, Suicide Squad actually had a bigger budget than this. So that was really surprising to me. Suicide Squad got $175 million to play with, although I imagine they spent most of that on the soundtrack, which was a good soundtrack, I'll give them that. But this movie, however, looks really polished and really good for only having a $160 million budget. So I'm definitely going to watch it in the theater, and I have really high hopes that it'll beat these projected numbers. The interesting thing is a lot of the competition it's going to be up against, including Bumblebee, a Transformers movie, doesn't look like those are projected to do too well either, so we'll see. I don't know if everyone's going to go and watch Mary Poppins Returns like they expect, but I'm kind of hoping people opt out and watch Aquaman. So that's my take on that. There's been quite a few articles on sites like Screen Rant and other places, comicbook.com and stuff, about these projected numbers. So a lot of people are surprised that it's so low. I'm thinking it would have been a lot higher if there wasn't somewhat of a fatigue from these DC movies underperforming and disappointing a lot of audiences. And this movie has a new director, which I think is a really good thing. I think James Wan is going to do a great job. Well, he's done it already. It's finished, but I think he did a great job. And unfortunately, though, there's a lot of fans who are only going to come out if Zack Snyder is the director at this point, since he's done so many DC movies, that there's a hardcore fan base there that may not come out for this. They're going to say it looks too much like a Marvel movie. And I think Shazam is going to suffer from that even more, because admittedly this Aquaman looks like more of a badass than past incarnations of Aquaman. I personally have really high hopes for the movie. I think it's really polished, and it just looks amazing. They got a good cast and everything else, and even more so, when the first trailer came out, they also released director's commentary over that trailer, so essentially 2 trailers. But in the second one, James Wan's commentary really made it clear that he had talked to Jeff Johns and had essentially based this character off of the new 52 Aquaman. So that was actually a really good run. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. And it's actually being reprinted in the Justice League books of the DC Giants that you can get at Walmart Supercenters. So that's actually where I read it most recently. I know they reprinted the Trench arc in there, so good stuff. So that's all for now. Basically, I just wanted to cover that. I think it's a little distressing because if Aquaman doesn't do well, and if Shazam doesn't do well, and then if Wonder Woman 84 4 doesn't do well, that's probably it for DC making any movies for a while. I think any future movies, even stuff like The Flash and everything else, is really going to hinge on these movies doing well. I know they're filming a Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, and I don't know, it looks pretty crappy to me, to be honest. And the amount of money they've spent on it, if I'm just going off of the pictures, is probably a couple $1,000,000 at the most. You know, it looks like an episode of a CW show, so I wouldn't be surprised if these two movies don't do well, and then especially if Wonder Woman 84 doesn't do well, that they would scrap the whole thing and just say, you know, here's your couple million, Joaquin, and however much we spent on the face paint, we'll just write off. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, be sure and subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell for notifications. And as always, thank you for watching and being a part of DC Fans United.
End of line.